Did you know that Squarespace are offering a free trial and 10% off your first purchase if you use our discount code, squarespace.com/TrekCulture? What are you waiting for?
In many ways, Star Trek was so ahead of its time that it was able to effectively guess the future, but then sometimes it predicted things that maybe didn't come to pass, and some things that maybe we don't want to come to pass. Looking at you, Eugenics Wars. I am Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 predictions about the future Star Trek probably got wrong. Number 10, circa 2032, the chances of anyone going to Mars. Mars has been a source of fascination for humanity since ancient times, hence the name. In the 19th century, astronomers thought they had discovered a system of canals on the surface, sparking a proliferation of popular sci-fi literature about Martian inhabitants. Star Trek has made no exception to science fiction's interest in the Red Planet. In the Star Trek Voyager episode One Small Step, we learned that humans had already begun crewed missions by the year 2032. What was reasonable optimism, with about 33 years of leeway at the end of the 90s, seems a lot less likely now that it's only 9 years away. Sure, there's still a lot of talk about setting foot on our nearish neighbour, but sending humans to Mars is a lot more complicated than just X marks the spot. The journey would be a solar flux-filled nightmare, landing could be catastrophic, and astronauts would have to survive in a thin, oxygenless atmosphere and contend with freezing temperatures, low gravity, and a good dose of surface radiation. All that might be a bit too much to ask for 2032. Number 9, circa 2040, Star Trek killed the TV star. In that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, where they stopped to pick up 3 frozen folk from the 1990s on their way to meet up the Romulans, one of the former lollipops asks to turn on the TV. Don't have too many martinis, mate, because the holodeck is going to blow your guitar-plucking mind. Clearly a bit of an in-joke, there's no television in this television show, Data promptly informs Mr. L.Q. Sonny Clemens that that particular form of entertainment did not last much beyond the year 2040. TV had indeed been assigned to the history books long before the 24th century, enough for Tom Paris to get a 1950s television set as a zany gift. They do still have news broadcasts, but for entertainment, it's the holodeck and those god-awful amateur stage plays. Data doesn't give the reasons for television's terminal decline, but we do know that it was World War III on Earth in 2040, so probably that. Number 8, 2026 to 2056, World Wars 3. There was one thing Star Trek the original series writers definitely got wrong about the future, which is the eugenics wars. Well, they got the dates wrong in any case, unless I missed the Friends episode, the one where genetically engineered tyrants take over the world. There has been a lot of toing and froing over the years. Voyager once went back to 1996, for example, and everything was fine. But now it seems the eugenics wars have been moved more definitively from 1992 to 1996 to the 21st century. In the series opener to Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Captain Pike states in his video presentation to the Kylie, "This is Earth in our 21st century. Before everything went wrong, our conflict also started with a fight for freedoms. We called it the Second Civil War, then the Eugenics War, and finally just World War III. With a bit of time travel, 3 wars are now merged into one. From other mentions of World War III, we can also assume it lasts from about 2026 to 2056, and that it was a nuclear conflict. We'd better hope they got this one wrong, and that the mad doctrine holds up against mad men. Number 7, April 5th, 2063. Is there life on Ni'Var? Have beings from another world already paid us a visit? An answer is as unforthcoming as ever, but fortunately for Star Trek fans, we know the exact date, discounting the Ferengi, of first contact. We celebrate it each year. If you're looking for something more concrete to plug into the Drake equation and foil the Fermi paradox, you can turn to the search for exoplanets, the first of which was discovered in 1992. At the time of recording, over 5,500 planets orbiting other stars have been detected, some in the habitable zone. Sadly, however, it won't be the Vulcans stopping by for a live long and prosper in 2063, or at least they won't have travelled from the 40 Eridani system, long held in Trek to house the planet that would eventually be known as Ni'Var. In 2018, scientists thought they had discovered a super-Earth type planet in orbit of the star 40 Eridani A, but in 2023 this was found to be an error owing to the surface properties of the star. Someone tell Dr. Cochrane to pause the jukebox. Number 6, April 5th, 2063, Magic Carpet First Warp Ride. To get the attention of the Vulcans, Zephram Cochrane, with Geordi and Riker in tow, first had to break the warp barrier. If Einstein had anything to say about it, travelling faster than the speed of light is impossible. But if you can't break the laws of physics, you can always bend them. One physicist and Star Trek fan, Miguel Alcubierre, took that maxim to heart when he proposed a method for superluminal travel through the expansion and contraction of space-time in his 1994 paper, The Warp Drive, Hyperfast Travel Within General Relativity. Whilst the Alcubierre drive, as it is now known, is a neat theoretical solution to the FTL problem, the practical realities of such an approach will undeniably require far more than 40 years to figure out. Number 5. 2113, Peace on Earth. Star Trek is a bit of an anomaly on television today. Whereas the vast majority of other sci-fi shows tend to entice viewers by reassuring them that things will still be as in the future, don't worry, Trek insists that all will turn out fine in the end, so long as we keep working at it. Gene Roddenberry's famous vision of a better, more hopeful tomorrow for humanity is perhaps Star Trek's greatest prediction about the future. There is no place like utopia, but you can achieve a lot trying to get there. It's Counselor Troi who, in Star Trek First Contact, gives us a timeline for such changes. As she explains to Zefram Cochrane, First Contact unites humanity in a way no one ever thought possible. Poverty, disease, war, they'll all be gone within the next 50 years. That means we've only got a maximum of 90 years in the real world to get our act together. It's probably negativity bias coupled with a more generalized cynicism, but given the current state of global affairs, that hardly seems like enough time at all. If we don't act now to halt the climate crisis, humanity as we know it probably won't even make it to 2113. Number 4. Early 22nd century onwards, scrambling your molecules. We've all dreamt about it. Who wouldn't want to ditch the travel and just materialize wherever you need to go? Well, okay, Reg Barkley and Dr. Pulaski, but I digress. The transporter has been a Star Trek staple ever since Gene Roddenberry and co. realized they didn't have the budget to land ship or shuttle each week. In canon, the transporter, the human version anyway, was invented and built by Emery Erickson at some point around the 2120s. Like the best inventors, he was also the first to try it. A century might seem like enough time, but in reality, it's going to take a lot longer to develop the transporter, or we'll find the technology was never possible in the first place. Yes, we could talk about all the amazing achievements in quantum teleportation until the cows beam home, but to do the equivalent for the average human would require insanely precise data on 7 octillion, that's 7 followed by 27 zeros, atoms. Sending it would take significantly longer than the actual age of the universe, and that's just one of numerous technical hurdles. Number 3. By the 24th century, an obscure language called French. Data must have been out of his positronic mind when he suggested that the French language was nothing but an odd relic of the past. It was in that episode of which we do not speak, so we should really just wipe the comment from canon along with the rest of the episode. Star Trek has a dedicated following in France and across the francophone nations, so this is one prediction we seriously hope they got wrong. Paris is also home to the office of the President of the United Federation of Planets. If anything, everyone in the 24th century should speak French. Of course, Data's remark wasn't designed to piss off an entire swathe of the fanbase, but as a nod to Picard's heritage with a tip of the hat to Stewart's. They've equally done a bit of damage control over the years, most recently in Star Trek Picard. Whilst old JL's French in season 1 was a little rusty around the edges, at least they were trying to give the notoriously English Frenchman a bit more Gallic flair. Number 2, all of the future, no social media? In the canon of Star Trek's future, there is no social media, certainly not in any way familiar to us. In reality, to have truly predicted the likes of Twitter in the 1960s, you'd have to have been either a visionary or a psychopath. So it's unsurprising that we didn't see Kirk checking his feed during his downtime. In the Delta Quadrant, Neelix was for a while what might now be called a YouTuber. Think A Briefing with Neelix, Good Morning Voyager, and Michael Jonas was technically Voyager's first plasma streamer. I'm so sorry. However, even in the contemporary Trek incarnations, no one shares snaps of their replicated meals on Instagram. Not in Starfleet anyway. A future without social media seems improbable, but at least Trek gives us a glimpse at it. MySpace should have made a comeback though. Number 1. 60 to 70 trillion years from now, the collapse of the universe. In Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Chrysalis, the band of genetically engineered super patients are back, and Jack and Patrick are worried about the final state of the cosmos. There's too much matter, so the universe is going to stop expanding and collapse in on itself. Easy solution, manipulate subspace to change the cosmological constant. Q can do that with a snap of his fingers. They've only got 60, 70 max trillion years to implement their plan. What the two anxious augments are describing is known amongst cosmologists as the Big Crunch. It is one of the several real-world theories which describe how the universe might end, from the Big Rip to the Big Freeze via the Big Slurp and the Big Bounce. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for Jack, Patrick, and the rest of everything else that has ever existed, scientific consensus gives the Big Crunch as the least likely cosmic demise. Unless there's a lot of dark matter out there, things will probably get as chilly as they can possibly get in the Big Freeze or heat death of the universe. With that warming final entry, that's everything for our list.
Hello, I'm Duncan Rillick, no relation, and my friend Sean Blass has been rushed to Starfleet Medical, so he's asked me to tell you about Squarespace. Squarespace allows you to build your own fantastic website, like he did for GTN. Its state-of-the-art template designer allows you to build what works best for you. Anyone can use it, even people like me, who may not be the sharpest typo in the spanner box. If you would like to try this deal, you should go to squarespace.com/TrekCulture and you get 10% off your first purchase. Cheap, when you go, tell them Rillick sent you. No relation. Good luck, Sean Blass. Hope everything goes okay with the toenail.
Thank you all so much for watching along. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to get in touch with us over on Twitter at TrekCulture. We are also on Blue Sky at TrekCulture. We are also on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. I am at Sean Ferrick on the various socials. Folks, look after yourselves. You are awesome. You are wonderful. I will see you soon. Live long and prosper.